Hi.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the new
We
network.
moved. We moved.
Right, we did.
It's been a big week. We've done a lot.
And I'm sorry about my connection. The internet is not happy at this moment in time, but I'll do my best.
That works.
Go ahead and tell everybody it's your baby. Give her a
Which
shout out.
which baby? I got
The
so many right now. I got my
Hey,
Paracon
Larry.
coming up. Hey, Larry. We got our Paracon coming up October 7th at the Rock Island YMCA with great people like Larry, Expedition Entity. Yeah, yes, Rex. I love it. Um, 28 Days Haunted, Shadow Hunters. I don't want to name too many because I know I'm going to forget people. So hop on over to the Rock Island YMCA page and check out. You'll see a lot of the great people that we got joining us. Rick Hayes is going to be one of the main speakers. He's agreed to join us. He was 2 times Psychic of the Year and 19 years in the top 25. So we
That'll be
got
fun.
that. We checked a location off of our bucket list this last weekend.
Yes, we did.
We went to MSP.
What a place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was insane. Some great experiences there. But I'm more excited about our guest.
I know. I met her in South Carolina, and I I am so honored to have her on the show. I mean, she's such a great person. Um, and I wish I could have spent more time with her, but the time I got to spend with her was precious. I mean, it was awesome, and she was so welcoming and about coming on the show, and I could just go on and on and on. So
Before we bring her up, let's give a shout out to Tori Westhoff, who just tuned in. She is actually going to be doing a book for the Haunted Rock Island YMCA called We Are Rock Island YMCA. I'm helping her with some of the research and history of that. But she's got some other great books. We Are Edinburgh. We actually used that at our investigation Friday night and had some incredible responses having the names from all that history that she's
oh my
done.
gosh, that was unreal. That was so much
Mm-hmm.
fun.
Yeah,
No, thank you, Tori.
she's got Randolph County Infirmary, and she's got Malvern Manor, and soon to come out McIntyre Villa. So
That's
check out
awesome.
her books. She's incredible. They're a paranormal investigator's best friend. If you have it, and if she's got a book for your location, you don't want to investigate without it. So
Yes. Sorry, I had to roll the chair up because the cat keeps coming in and screaming at me. Get up here. Here's your chair. So, anyway, yes. Oh, that's fantastic.
keep
There we go.
teasing us.
We have Miranda Young, Ghost Biker, and this is going to be an absolute blast. Let's bring her up and get this show started.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Miranda.
Hey, thank you all so much for having me on tonight.
Oh,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Thank you. What are you doing? Sorry, co-host is here now. The fill-in.
So
If I don't, he's going to scream. You'll hear him through the whole thing. So, right?
So for people who don't know anything about you, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, thank you so much for having me on the show tonight. I've been looking forward to this since Rex and I met there in South Carolina and since we've been talking about it. But for those that don't know me, my name is Miranda and I'm better known as the Ghost Biker. I travel around the country on my motorcycle to different haunted and historic locations. I've been investigating the paranormal for just under 15 years now, been doing Ghost Biker for just going on 6. And within the last year and a half, I've become a location owner and I co-own the historic Scott County Jail. And just this week, made the announcement about our new location, which is Historic Rugby After Dark.
Rex, we got to go on some road trips.
Oh, heck yes.
Come on
Okay.
down to East Tennessee, and then you can actually make it a destination weekend and investigate the jail, and then investigate the rugby. Rugby is an entire village, so we're very
Wow.
excited to
wow.
open that up to our paranormal community.
Yes, she
There
is.
we go.
Tori.
Thank you.
Tori needs to do a book on that one. That'd be like, if it's a whole village, she'd have a whole
Yes.
village of books.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
You
the
have a library.
the stories and history that come out of both of these two locations, the historic Scott County Jail and Rugby itself, is really just amazing and mind-blowing. I mean, we're constantly learning more and more every day. But just the jail itself, the history with the moonshiners, the mountain justice that we had there, the unsolved murders, some of the different lynchings, even just Scott County itself being an enclave county where we actually are one of 3 that ended up seceding from the state during the Civil War, because we said, hey, we don't want to be involved with either side. So we seceded from the state and formed our own free and independent state of Scott. So there's just a ton of history out of Scott and Morgan counties just by itself.
Larry
so
says they're
cool.
hoping to get there next year and hang out with you and Chris.
Yes, I tell you, I got to meet Larry and Dan for the first time last year filming up there in Illinois. And I tell you what, you just can't ask for 2 better guys, and their team expansion. I've been enjoying watching their team expand, and Expedition Entity and what it's doing on Paraflix. It's just, I'm very proud to know and be associated with those guys. Just great.
Yeah, they're
great.
wonderful.
They are. What?
Yeah, Jen, she's a hoot. I love Jen. She's a riot too.
I didn't get to meet her when I was up there, because I was up there, I believe, for about 3 days, and 2 of those days we were filming. But Larry and Dan gave me the quick tour the night that I arrived, and I want to go back up there and do some investigating. We even did a little mini investigation before I took off the next day in one of the cemeteries. I believe it was, I want to say Maplewood or Maple Cemetery. And just the 30 minutes that we investigated there, we had some really cool activity, especially with the dowsing rods.
Oh, fun. You got to come to the Paracon. You'd meet Jen. She's going to be there with Larry.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And Larry says, we'll have you anytime. I know Bill wants you up at Broadhead.
Yes, yes. We didn't get to go there that night because the filming ran a little bit long, but I keep seeing things coming out of Broadhead, and I know that Bill has done an amazing job with that location. So I'm really hoping to get up that way and do an investigation there. Just the stuff that comes out of that place is amazing.
Well, yeah, we're going to be going up there in September. You're welcome to join us.
Well, thank you, Kandi. I appreciate that.
And Tori says, Scott County Jail, what state?
And it looks like, and I apologize for noise. There's motorcycles riding by. A lot of people are out enjoying this beautiful Memorial Day weekend here. So, so I apologize for any noise being outside here. But yes, my business partner, Dr. Christy Sumner, looks like she's in the audience as well.
Yeah. So yeah, she said Tennessee. Yep. So tell us about your new location. You're probably excited to talk about that one a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So this has been something that's been pretty much a year in the negotiation phase. Historic Rugby has been on the National Historic Registry and open to the public since, I believe, the 70s. But they do special cemetery walks during October, but they were never open for the paranormal like what we're trying to do. And so this village, it was established back in 1880 by Thomas Hughes, who is from England, and he established this society as this village for second and third sons of England. the first sons, those were the aristocrats, the ones that, they had money, they were provided for. But the second and third sons, they were really essentially kind of forgotten about. And so when he came here to this area, which it was just an Appalachian community here in the mountains of East Tennessee, it's about 40,000 acres. And so he purchased that and ended up setting up the village there in Rugby. So whenever you come to visit, you're able to visit some of the original structures. Some of them have been reproduced, but there are several that are still original. The library, that one was established in 1882. It was the first lending library here in the Southeast. And so it is the original library and has what's so amazing about it is it's got the original works in it. Some of these came from England. They were donated from all over the country. Some books from the early 1600s are in this library.
Wow.
Yeah, you're surrounded by first edition books, which just to be in the presence of that, to smell the old books and to be in there and just feel the energy, it's amazing. And just the other night when Chris and I were out there taking photographs for the website, we were standing in front of the library and we just got the strongest whiff of an old tobacco pipe smell. And we thought somebody else was in the village. And so we were actually talking about it with the people who run the village yesterday, and they said that's something that's a common occurrence that they will get inside of there, that one of the early librarians used to smoke a pipe. So we're getting a lot of really cool activity. There's a lot of great reports from out of there. It does have the reputation of being the most haunted village in America. And we're very excited about other investigators actually opening it up to the investigation community to come in and see what types of activity that they're getting from that. And what we'll be offering there is, so we're going to be offering Thursday through Sunday nights, we're going to be offering guided lantern tours for the people who really just kind of want that dose of history with a side of ghost stories there. And then we're going to be offering a more immersive guided ghost hunt where you can come and investigate with either myself or Dr. Sumner. Sometimes you might get both of us, but we are limiting it to 6 people. And that will be a 3-hour experience. And so you'll get to come in and investigate 4 of the different structures there within the village, as well as part of the village property itself. And then we're offering private paranormal investigations where teams can come in and investigate from 8:30 till 3 a.m. And then we do have a couple select dates that we've been able to negotiate with the village where there are 3 houses that you can actually spend the night in. One's the Pioneer Cottage, the other's Piercy Cottage, and the other's Newberry. And so on select nights, because these are locations that people come to the village to stay at, it is lodging accommodations, they've given us several of those where they'll be able to go in and do a 6.5-hour investigation and spend the night in one of those buildings based on date availability. So we're very excited. Yeah, very excited. I mean, it is a failed utopian society. Of course, I don't know. I mean, it's failed as a utopian society, but I mean, it's still around today, which is fascinating and just such a wonderful history that we're so excited to share.
That is so cool.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Chris.
Yep. Hi, Sonia. Thanks for watching and showing up. You got questions, please ask. Yeah, I was reading what.
Yeah, froze.
Sundays. I want to spend a night.
Come on.
So of all the places you've gone, what's your favorite?
Oh, wow.
And it can't be the 2 you own.
Well, that is a great question. I would probably have to say one of my absolute favorite places to investigate would be the Grand Old Lady Hotel, which is in Balsam, North Carolina. And this location, I mean, to me, it put me in the mind of The Shining because it was such a psychological haunting. It's an old hotel that had it had, I believe it was 90 something rooms. It's built in 1908. They kept the rooms very primitive. None of the rooms even had TVs in them, but they were all different. And so, because it is in the mountains of North Carolina, they do shut down during the cold winter months. And so I believe it was open, I think, from April until the end of November. And so, whenever you would rent the location, you got the entire location. So it was part of a weekend investigation when I went. The very first night, it was myself and my videographer, Dr. Christy Sumner, who's also my business partner. So we had the whole hotel to ourselves. And then the second night, her and her twin sister with Soul Sisters Paranormal investigated, and they invited me to participate in a couple sessions. And we also stayed on the grounds that night. So it was really cool to be in that location, just being alone in a hotel all by yourself. The types of activity we got, there was nothing dark or anything, but I really enjoyed the activity because people would travel to this hotel by train, and they would typically come and stay for the summer. It was like a getaway to where they could come in and relax and refresh up in the mountains. So the type of activity you got was a different type of activity than what you're going to get at our jail. Now, there was a murder that did take place there close to the property, and the body was taken into the hotel. But still, it was such a variety of activity. I ended up getting my name called on the first night in my sleep. Anytime I'm in a location and I have the opportunity to sleep, I like to set a recorder and a video camera out to see what happens, while we're sleeping, and to record while we're in there. And the activity that I got at that point in time each night was crazy. The first night, like I said, I got my name called. The second night, Soul Sisters was sleeping. We were sleeping in a suite, and they were in the back room, and I was in the front room. And right there in front of the room, we had just finished talking about how the next day we were going to be packing up and leaving and going back to our respected areas. And we got this very clear male voice while we were sleeping that said, "Please don't go." And it was about 20 minutes after we laid down, and I heard it. They heard it, and thankfully the cameras heard it too. So I would have to say, just as an all around, that was probably one of my favorite investigations and favorite locations.
That sounds like a really neat place.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it really was. And, it's just beautiful too, just being able, when you're not investigating, to sit out on the porch and look at the mountains and feel the mountain air and everything. It just has such a wonderful energy to it. Now, I know different people have gotten different things out of there. But from my investigation and Soul Sisters investigation, that location, it was just wonderful, because it was a mix of kind of, like I said, being on edge and being kind of creeped out because you're there literally on a mountain with nobody else around and nobody in this entire hotel with all these cool things going on around you, to just the haunting activity itself that's there.
Larry asked if you can talk about some of the scary legends you've come across in your travels.
Absolutely. So some of my favorite was probably coming from my first season. So in season 1, I highlighted some of the stories and local legends that came out of East Tennessee, primarily the Chattanooga and Cleveland, Tennessee area. And I highlighted on my first episode of season 1, the Bleeding Mausoleum. And this mausoleum, it's so interesting, not only the story that surrounds it and the history, but the activity that I got that night. And so I did investigate it on 2 different nights, kept it a very simple investigation. But this mausoleum, it was built by Mr. Cragmiles, who was one of the founding members there in Cleveland, Tennessee. And his 8-year-old daughter, Nina Cragmiles, was riding with her grandfather on the wagon. He was a doctor, and so he was out making house calls. And while he was out, they're not really sure if there was a storm that happened or exactly what happened, but a train was coming through and the horse got spooked. And when the horse got spooked, it threw Nina from the wagon and she ended up getting crushed by the cow catcher. And so, Mr. Cragmiles, he was absolutely devastated. And so, and because she did end up passing on St. Luke's Day, 3 years to the day from when she passed, they ended up erecting St. Luke's Church there. And he also built this beautiful Carrara marble mausoleum for his daughter. And so every time a family member ended up passing, there would be these red spots that would appear on the mausoleum. And so it was said that every time one had passed, that they got larger, darker. And when it rains, it literally looks like the mausoleum's bleeding. And so he ended up losing a son. The baby was only a few years or a few hours old. He didn't even have a name, but he ended up passing. So he's in the mausoleum. And then a few years after that, Mr. Cragmiles himself ended up slipping, hitting his head, getting blood poisoning, and then passing away. So he's in the mausoleum. And then about 20 years later, of course, at this point in time, cars are invented, and his wife is walking out onto the street. She ends up getting hit by a car and she passes as well. So the tragic stories of each member that passed, is just very interesting in and of itself. And so the story behind it is that if you walk around the mausoleum 7 times at night and ask Nina to come out and play, that she'll interact with you. And so we wanted to test that for ourselves. And so it was a very simple, old school investigation of mostly dowsing rods and mostly just stationary recorders. I placed one recorder right inside where the mausoleum doors are. I had a static recorder on myself, and then had a static recorder in the back of the mausoleum, which is a little bit of overkill for such a small mausoleum, but that's literally the only mausoleum that's in the churchyard. And other than the cremation graves right there, there's no other graves inside of that churchyard. Oh, wow. And so walked around the mausoleum 7 times, asked Nina to come out and play, and ended up getting some great dowsing rod activity, ended up getting a couple very cool Class A EVPs, even a couple disembodied voices that I heard in the moment. And then on the second night, I was back in behind the mausoleum, literally sitting with my back to it with the cemetery right in front. And I end up capturing what sounds like a child almost kind of either singing or almost like a little limerick or nursery rhyme. And I heard it in the moment, and thankfully the recorders heard it as well. So that's probably one of my favorites, because it was such a simple investigation with such a great history. So many people came back that had lived in the area or that passed by the mausoleum that really didn't know the story, that said, that's really cool, because I've seen this amazing white mausoleum in the middle of town, but I didn't know the story to it. So it's really cool when you can get that history out there and get that story. Mm-hmm. The other one would probably have to be my second episode from season 1, which was the Phantom Monk. And this was also a local legend that came out of the East Tennessee area. I've talked to several people from East Tennessee as well as North Georgia and Central Georgia that's heard this story as well. And it's covered in the book 13 Tennessee Ghosts and Jeffrey. And so I like to get a lot of my stories from a lot of these books. Like you had mentioned Tori's book there, where you hear these stories. Mm-hmm. I like to follow along authors that write about local legends and folklore in areas, and then go and see if I can go to the area, find out more information about the town so I can promote the tourism of the town, and then also see if we get activity from the story. And this story, like I said, it's about the Phantom Monk. Back in the late 1860s, there was a train wreck that took place between Charleston and Chattanooga. There was a great flood at that time, and it flooded the tracks. And so the engineers, they didn't have warning in enough time, and the train ended up derailing. And so during this derailment, there was allegedly so many bodies and so many people that ended up either being injured or perishing in the accident, that the local homes ended up taking in some of the injured, and the local doctor was going from home to home and treating these injured folks. They even said that the train depot ended up being set up as a makeshift morgue. And so during that time, it was rumored that there was a monk that had boarded the train up in the Maryland area, and he was riding the train down to New Orleans. And so he was one that did end up perishing in the wreck. And so supposedly, after the doctor had treated all these individuals, he took a little sabbatical, and by the time he came back into the office, he had this brand new skeleton hanging in his office. And back at that point in time, they always said that a doctor's office was not a doctor's office if it didn't have a skeleton in it. And of course, they used real bones. The legend goes that the doctor did take this monk that had passed away. He did believe that he didn't have any family that would be looking for his body, and that he took the body back to a tub and allegedly dissolved the skin from the bones. Now, this investigation, so what I did was I told the story there in Charleston, Tennessee, and I went to the place where I believe that the train had derailed, and had a really cool spirit box session there, and got some very interesting responses on this spirit box, as well as dowsing rod session. My videographer, Josh, he did have some connections to an individual who had purchased a tub from this doctor's estate sale. And so, not sure if it's the tub. It does date back to that time frame, and it was the doctor's tub. So that's why we do say the alleged tub. But this tub was sitting in the family's home that they were using as basically as storage. And so they gave me access to go in, investigate this tub, and see if I could get any activity from it. Well, the home that this tub was stored in, the homeowner was one of the first homeowners from the 70s. And no one had lived in it for about 12 years. They did end up, after she moved out with her family, the family grew up. They ended up using it as a rental property. And so the last person that owned it was about 12 years earlier. And then they had the tub in there for storage. And so, so as I was doing this investigation, and again, got some really interesting things that night, I ended up getting so much activity from the upper. So the house is a split level, and the tub's in the basement. And so I ended up getting so much activity on the second floor that I thought, you know what, I'm going to go take a recorder up there. I'm going to take a REM pod and just see what's going on. Because as we would record, we were hearing what literally sounded like a body being drugged upstairs.
Oh, wow.
And so put the REM pod up there, and every time I would record B-roll. So once we finished the investigation, I had some things I wanted to do as B-roll. And so as we were recording B-roll, every time we would start, the REM pod would go off, or we would get sounds of knocking, banging, different things coming from the recorder. And so we would stop, we would run upstairs and see what was going on. And so after, doing this for probably, I would say about an hour, I called the homeowner, and she did agree to, after talking to her, she did agree to let me record her. But she said that she had activity in that home from about the late 70s, early 80s on. And so, and I apologize, the dog is howling and a siren is going by. I don't know if
you're good.
But so that actually ended up turning into from investigating from a local legend to actually investigating a house, and it became an investigation of a probably about a year and a half long investigation that we turned into a case study, and even ended up bringing in a demonologist to work with on this particular house. So being able to see it from the actual legend to finding out other activity that was going on in the house was pretty cool.
That is awesome.
That is awesome. Well, I'm going to ask the ever famous question here. We kind of coined a phrase on our show. What is your biggest oh shit moment in the paranormal?
Gosh, I guess I need to think about that for a minute. You know, I would probably have to say, you know, it didn't take place at a location, but it did take place when I was filming for a location. So a lot of the time, if I can, I like to film, since I ride my motorcycle to the locations, I like to film parts of the ride. And so when I was filming at Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary there in Petros, Tennessee, I was filming riding on the Devil's Triangle, which is Highway 116. And it's a very historic, very interesting road to ride on, because of just, you need to be good at motorcycling to ride this road, because you never know what you're going to encounter. And so we were filming some motorcycle shots with Dr. Sumner there. And several times, I filmed 3 points. I'll film my point of view from the motorcycle. I have somebody either riding with me or driving with me that can film back. And then we'll kind of rotate and they'll film forward. So 3 different points of view. And on the Devil's Triangle, basically you're going up 116. When you get to the top around Wind Rock, you got to come back down, and it's nothing but hairpin turns and, just switchbacks, that sort of thing. And while I was up there filming, my throttle ended up locking up and catching. Oh, no. And so as you're coming down the mountain, I mean, it locked. So it was full throttle at that point. And, once you go down into that low gear, you start to rev out. And I mean, unless you're going to go over the edge, unless you catch it. And so when I was up there, I caught it that I couldn't slow down. So I found that I had to feather my clutch and hold my clutch in, and then I'll manually push my throttle forward to keep it from locking up and essentially wrecking. And so I would have to say, even though it wasn't in a paranormal, it was a very much an oh shit moment, because it was a life or death type situation. And I found the reason why, and I had to stop and adjust it multiple times. I mean, I was literally not able to breathe, and probably needed to change my pants once I realized what was happening, because coming off and literally once you're at the top, it's quite a ways to come off the mountain, before it I mean, you've got to go through quite a bit to come off the mountain before you're safely there in Rocky Top. And so that would probably be that moment for me.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of motorcycles, we have a mutual friend here, and you know what I ride, and he calls it an absolute abomination. He's agreeing right now. No, it's not.
Tori says my butthole would have locked up tighter than a camel's eye in a sandstorm. I love it. Oh,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, that was, I mean, it's one of those, and I like to kind of parallel motorcycle riding with the paranormal, and I think anyone that's a biker will agree. I think you have to go into both activities with a very similar mindset because you you know you've got to be focused. You've got to have your mind on that particular task that you're doing, and you can't, you need to know whenever you're going to do whatever, you need to have sort of several backup plans as to how you're going to handle certain situations, because you never know what's going to happen in either of those situations. So
Right.
I really try to model my investigation style same way as the way I ride, in a defensive sort of way, but also in a way of, when I go in, I try to make sure I'm 100% focused on what I'm doing. If I'm stressed, if I'm having a bad day. Now, granted, if you're stressed and having a bad day, a motorcycle is a great way to relax and calm that. But it's also, you do need to make sure your mind is on the road. And so that's
Yeah.
how I feel with the investigation. You need to go in with that being your focus and not have anything else, because you never know what you're going to bring into the situation that's going to influence your investigation.
Yeah, there you go. That pretty much.
Oh,
Oh, I love you too, buddy.
oh.
I knew something was going to come out as soon as I brought up the abomination.
That's what you need to call it.
Actually, now
Now,
you want me
I
to
know,
change it.
I
Look at
know
him.
what your name
It
is.
is, yeah. It
He
works.
wants me to call it the dragon. That's what he told me earlier. But now, see, now he's agreeing. There you go.
It is a good name for it.
It is. I mean, it fits with what he named me when I was in South Carolina. So why not go with it? Oh my God, that's too funny. Uh-oh.
Sexy Rexy, the Dragon Slayer, drives an abomination. The wheels go in the back.
No.
Go in the back.
I knew he could. I knew he could. What's not to love about that guy? Our very Shanome. If anyone's an abomination of a bike, here is me, the Scrumpet Wagon. Oh, I'll tell you the story sometime about Scrumpet. This, not today.
I want to hear more of her stories, because her stories they're phenomenal. They're like making me want to get in the car. I need to win the lottery just so I can travel and go to all these cool places.
What do you have coming up next?
So right now we are filming for season 6, and again, I don't know what is going on with these sirens. I live in the Appalachian Mountains. It is normally not this noisy. I do not live down in the city. So right now we're currently filming for season 6, and filmed a couple different locations. I can't really say a whole lot about that, where the locations are just yet, but it will be a theme season like in the past. Got a lot of different Paracons that we're working on. Going to be really very, very excited about getting to speak at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. That's going to be my next Paracon. I've been to Gettysburg several times, but I've never had the opportunity to go to the bash or to be able to speak at it. So I'm extremely honored about that. So that's going to be coming up here in July. And then in August, going to be at the Deep South Paracon in Ozark, Alabama, speaking with people from all over the country there. This is their second annual Paracomic-Con that they're having. And then going to be part of the Deadwood Paracon there that Mr. Brandon is hosting there with Sacred Mountain Retreats, which is going to be there. I believe that's the last weekend of September, unless I'm getting that date incorrect. I'm very excited to be taking the Ghost Biker out there to Deadwood and Sturgis area. And then we're going to be doing several Ghost Biker events. One of them in particular is in London, Kentucky. and going to be partnering with Wildcat Harley Davidson, doing a motorcycle ride, doing a ghost hunt, and a meet and greet, and all the proceeds from that are going to go to the Shop with a Cop program there in London, Kentucky. And then just a lot of different events with the jail and with rugby. We've got something about every weekend.
She's going to be
That's
busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Got to squeeze in some investigating between now and then.
I'm telling you, you need to come to our Paracon and investigate with us after, and because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And the location, I don't know if you know about it. It's got an amazing history.
It
Brothel, all that ties to the mob. Yeah. Bunch of not so nice people. So, yeah.
That's some of the great history there in your all's area. I love that, the mob history and the brothels and stuff. That I love seeing the different areas of the country and hearing the similarities as well as the differences in the types of activity that people get and the types of locations people can investigate. So it's down here with our Civil War sites and different locations. It's always interesting to go to the different regions and experience that activity and history itself.
Man, and on top of you get to take the bike everywhere. That's even cooler yet.
It's for me it was just a no-brainer. I mean, when I started investigating with the team that I started with, I really started out as doing looking at photos and such. The guy who was the founder of the team, he saw that I had a background in photography, and so he wanted me to look at some photos and really try to essentially either debunk or give a logical explanation for some of the images that they were finding. And so he let me look at so many different images that they ended up inviting me on an investigation. And so we were investigating, somewhere a big commercial location at least once a month. And then we did a ton of different residentials down in the Chattanooga area, just a lot of great homes from the Civil War era and stuff at that point in time. And, it was really cool to really cut my teeth and learn from those guys. But, and I found, that I would ride my motorcycle to those different locations sometimes, not every time, but if it was a closer location, I would ride. And then other times I found that I would go out and investigate on my own, and I would go ride and really doing more urbex type investigations, and really to be able to, really through just a conversation with a friend about, going out and highlighting these locations in video rather than just putting them out there in photos. It really got my mind going about, branding myself and really trying to combine those two passions of motorcycling and the paranormal. And it was just really, for me, it was just a really good fit. I honestly would have never anticipated that it would have caught on, and that I would, I started working with Harley Davidson after my first season and doing these different events and going to these locations. I would have never thought here we would be 6 seasons later and actually be a location owner.
That's awesome.
And 2 location owners, that's got to be just, so thrilling for you.
It is. I mean, I couldn't think of a better business partner than Dr. Sumner there from Soul Sisters. I couldn't think of a better business partner, and I couldn't think of a better way, because I spent 21 years working in the corporate environment as a marketing executive. And, you just I really just sort of thought that's what I would be doing marketing, public relations, and graphic design. And then I was able to kind of pull that when I was with the team and do their marketing and put their videos together, and to be able to take that and do my branding and really brand Ghost Biker into something that people recognize and that
Mhm.
people are excited to watch. That's a true honor that people want to take their time, because time is one of the most valuable things, that people want to take their time to sit and watch your content that you're putting out. I mean, it's very
Right.
humbling, and I'm very honored that people want to do that. And so to take this in the paranormal, I've made some of my best friends there in the paranormal, and to be able to take that and actually do that as my job, because in 2020, my position there in marketing was eliminated with all the downsizing and everything that
Mhm.
happened. And then I had this opportunity to come back to the area where I grew up. And so it was just sort of one of those things where I reached out to my friend Christy and was like, "Hey, the jail has been vacant since 2008. They're not doing anything with it. They got a tourism grant for it. Why don't we approach the town and see if they would be interested in us coming in and doing, making a true crime museum and sharing the Scott County history, and then also opening it up as a paranormal research center." I had investigated there back in 2014, while it was closed before they got the grant. I was one of the first to investigate in there. So I knew it was active. And I knew that what I had in mind was more than what one person could handle. And Christy was in a spot in her life where she was able to do this. She had the opportunity. So she ended up moving up here from Florida, and
Oh,
we approached the town, and the town they were all on board. They liked our idea. And so we formed the company History, Highways, and Haunts, and opened up the museum, and have really been just working. Our mission statement really is to preserve these locations and make them accessible to the general community as well as the paranormal community, and to show paranormal tourism is huge. When you all come to investigate these locations, you're not just coming in and investigating a location. You're coming in and you're staying in the town. You're spending money. You're buying gas. You're,
Mhm.
patronizing the restaurants and stuff. So to be able to show that, it's such a huge industry and helping on so many levels. It's just, again, like I said, been amazing and a dream come true. I never would have thought I would be in this situation that I'm in right now. I love it.
Tell us
That's
more about what's happened at at the jail. We'll start with the jail.
Sure, sure. So the jail was built in 1904, and it was in operation until 2008. And during its lifespan, it's seen so many interesting history or historical stories that come out of it. In 1922, there was a fire there at the jail. The jail was only 2 stories at the time. And so the fire destroyed the second story. But rather than just fixing it, they did end up going and adding the third story. So that brought the capacity up from 32 inmates to one jailer to 50 inmates to one jailer. Now, like most small county jails, we suffer from overcrowding at times. And so it would be not uncommon to have up to 100 inmates there in that jail to one jailer. And so back in 1925, Sheriff Richard Ellis, he was bringing in a moonshiner, and he ended up, when he was bringing the moonshiner in, he ended up getting shot from behind and killed right at the front door as he was unlocking the front gates. And a couple interesting things about Sheriff Ellis: he was a Baptist preacher, and he did run under the stance that he was going to make Scott County as dry as the Sahara. And because moonshining was such a big industry here in the Southeast, he was warned that if he ran under this stance, that he probably wouldn't survive his time there as sheriff. And so the moonshiners did make good on it, and shot him there at the front door. Now, his body was brought into the jail, prepared for burial. And, we do believe that Sheriff Richard Ellis is one of our resident spirits, that he has, both residual and intelligent activity. He another unique feature about him, he was very tall. He was between 6'7" and 6'8". And one of our shadow figures that we've caught ourselves, as well as some of our different teams that have come there, they have caught a shadow figure that is between 6'8" and 7 feet tall, especially around the drunk tank area, which would make sense, with him being so against moonshine, being in that area. But he is seen on all floors. Also, we have had 7 different lynchings or executions that have taken place there at the jail. Like I said, we do have such thing here as backwoods justice or mob mountain justice. And so several different times we've had mobs of masked men break into the jail and take different individuals out. Probably our most famous was Jerome Boyett and Harvey Winchester. That was back in 1933. They were taken from the jail. And so there's been several different stories written about Jerome Boyett as well as those stories. And so we have gotten activity that we do believe relates to the lynching that took place of them, as well as Jerome's time there inside the jail. And the activity we get in there, it's really crazy, because we're in there, between myself and Dr. Sumner, we're in there both up to 16 hours a day. And so sometimes working night shift with the investigators, other times just in there during the day and giving tours. But we've had a lot of great investigators that have come in and they've told us what they've captured. They've sent us evidence and stuff. And we've been able to correlate that with things that we've captured. We've also been able to link that up with some of the historical events that we had. And one in particular that it blows my mind every time I share this story. But, I'd mentioned Jerome Boyett and Harvey Winchester, who were murdered or who were lynched from the jail. And so on the night that they were taken out of there, the mob, when they busted in, they ended up beating up the jailer and doing it right there in the foyer in the entryway of the jail. Well, there was a story that was written about this called Quest for Rome, High Winds. And so we happened to get an early copy of the book, and Chris and I were sitting there looking at it, and we were reading the back, and it's written by there's a copyright character that tells the story, and his name is Anvil Clemens. Now, I didn't know this. I hadn't heard the name Anvil or anything, but I knew it was based on the true story. And so it just so happened that weekend, a team had come in, and they were doing an investigation, and they were right there in the front of the jail, right around the foyer area. And they were using an Ovilus 5. And so we always tell teams, if you get something and it seems insignificant, just come and ask us about it. We may know something. Mm-hmm. So they came in and they said they had gotten the word anvil twice during their investigation on the Ovilus. And they didn't know what that meant. Because a lot of the time on the Ovilus, you don't get the same words, during the time. And so I told him, I said, I'm not sure what that means, but I went and I grabbed the early copy of the book. And I said, the character that's telling the story in this book's name is Anvil. So I reached out to the author, and the author, he said it took him a minute to respond, because he said he was so shocked. And he's not into the paranormal, but he said it was a made up name, that he had changed the name of the jailer who was on duty that night. The jailer's name was actually Ethan Laxton, and that he had been beat so bad that night that he got the nickname Anvil, because they said he had been beat like an anvil. And so what's interesting about this, again, the book had not come out, and it was a changed name. It was a nickname. So there was no way this team could have researched this before they came in. So we've been able to find different things that we've been able to link up with actual historical fact that the jail is sharing and telling us stories about. So we always tell our investigators, if you get something, we're always fascinated to hear, because we might be able to validate something from it. And these spirits that are in there, they're very intelligent. They are very aware, and they'll let you know about it. So it's really been good and fun conducting this true research, because we can do a lot of different experiments and a lot of different things to really find out who we're talking to.
That is such an interesting place. I've heard so much about it, especially when I was in South Carolina. Everybody was talking about it, and I'm going, well, someday I'll be there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We'll make it.
Yeah, it's a smaller location, but it's 3 floors. It is a county jail, and so it is smaller. You do have the larger Brushy Mountain State Prison that's just about 45 minutes down south from there, and that was where we sent our state and federal offenders whenever they would be sent from the jail. But I think my business partner says it best, that it might be, it might have a small footprint, but it definitely packs a big paranormal punch.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of small places actually do.
Yeah.
And there's so much history to it too. I mean, and that story about the anvil, that's, it's hard to deny that, it's out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we're finding. I mean, we have a lot of different articles up on the wall. When Chris and I first came on, we spent about 2 months going through and really finding a lot of history, also just sharing with the spirits there what we were going to be doing. Because, the jail had been closed since 2008. So we really wanted to, we're saying, hey, you're coming into we're coming into your home and there's going to be other people coming in. So we want to, let you know what we're doing. And, I think that really paid off, because we really found in certain areas different things that work as good triggers. There's certain areas where music works great. And I'm not just talking about music from, a recorder. Yeah, that works great. But if you play an instrument, if you sing and you come in there, oh my gosh, it's crazy how we had a group come in, and they weren't investigators. When we do our flashlight tours, we do a little it's just like a little session up in the women's cell up there. And so we had these 3 ladies, the mayor of Sunbright, and the lady that was over the Chamber of Commerce, and then the other from the Genealogical and Historical Society from the neighboring counties. They came in, and it was 3 ladies, and we told them Amazing Grace is something that really works really well in this room. And for some weird reason, they really like the pentatonics version. For some reason, that really seemed to work well with them. And so before we could even play it, these 3 ladies break out into a 3-part harmony that was so chilling and gorgeous that it makes the hair stand up on your arms just hearing them sing it. And so they break out into singing this, and the K2s that we give people on the tour, we give them K2s, but in this room, we set the K2s up on the bunks, and the K2s and the flashlights all started going off like crazy. You would have thought someone had, flicked an electrical switch or something. Mm-hmm. It was crazy, and they were just singing. And so we've had people bring their guitars, and we've had people just come in and sing. And a lot of the time that sets off a lot of really cool activity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, so it's really cool to see that, as well as the articles. There's certain articles in there that when you read them will trigger activity. And we're not sure if it's because that's something that resonated with somebody that was in there, whether it was a crime they committed or a crime that they were a victim of. We're not really sure, but it does tend to bring out activity.
Tori says, how many deaths have you found on the property?
You know, being a location, excuse me, that's been in service for 120 years, there was a lot of people who walked through those walls or through those doors. And excuse me. And we know of at least 7 lynchings that did take place. We know of at least 4 suicides, but then there were probably, we've seen several different heart attacks, strokes, that sort of thing. It's been really kind of hard to pinpoint an actual number on that.
What is your first paranormal encounter you've ever had?
Probably my first, I would have to say, was you know, my first investigation encounter would have been at the marina and restaurant that I investigated there in Chattanooga. And probably I was actually touched on that investigation. Got some of the coolest flashlight activity there, just responding on command. And, you know, when I was touched, it was actually, I thought at the moment, because I'd never experienced anything like that, I thought that I was maybe having a muscle spasm in my leg, because it just felt like a 3 little taps. And at that point in time, I just thought it was because I'd worked all day and I'm standing, you know, I'd been standing for about, 5 hours on this investigation. But it wasn't until after I did it 3 times and I ignored it that it actually pulled on my pocket. And I knew that it was somebody trying to get my attention. And this location was known to have a lot activity from a night watchman who used to also patrol out in the marina, and he ended up having a heart attack and fell into the water and drowned. And then there was also a lady that was known to hang out there at the restaurant. She was a regular, and she would she was known to she even had her own little seat there at the bar where she used to sit. And so at that point in time when I was touched, I was communicating with the woman and trying to see if she would have a drink with me. And so when I called out her favorite drink, I called out a bunch of drinks. I didn't know what it was. I called out the specific drink, and that's when the flashlight started going off. Also caught several interesting disembodied voices. Those were probably my first experiences. And then going back, the team, they did give me a recorder that night, because again, I was really just invited to investigate with them. I wasn't part of the team, but they were really cool in the fact that they gave me a recorder to listen to, or to carry that night and then to listen to. And I'll never forget when I heard that first voice that I knew wasn't there actually respond to our questions. And I mean, it was such a mix of adrenaline and also kind of like nauseousness, that it was just like, oh man, I know there was nobody there, and there was nobody there speaking Spanish, so, and it was clearly speaking Spanish on the EVP. So, yeah, it was at that point I was bitten by the bug and went on a couple more investigations, and then was invited to be a member of the team. Those were my first of actually investigating, but I had been going to, cemeteries and stuff for years before that. I didn't really realize we were investigating at that point until the, paranormal entertainment shows and stuff came out. But that's probably my first that just really sticks out in my mind.
She's got good stories. I could
Yes,
listen to
she
her
does.
all night long.
I know. That's why I just sitting here, and then when she's done, I'm just kind of like, wait, the story's over? Damn.
I know, right? I
Well,
feel like a good little kid sitting here at story time.
Well, that's really where I come at the paranormal from, is from the storytelling aspect. I didn't really have any type of, big paranormal experience growing up. I ended up living, I grew up living by my grandmother. And when I was a kid, she was in her 80s when I was a kid. And I would literally every day go down to her house and sit on her porch in the rocking chair, listening to her share stories about growing up in the Appalachian Mountains. And a lot of these stories would be either, haunts that she had experienced. And, I always kind of laugh when I tell it, but, around here, we always called them haints and boogers, because that would be the spirits and then the cryptids. And she would share those stories of things that either she had experienced or just legends, And so my dad would also, it was very common, after church on Sundays or after we got out of school or whatever, he and I would go back road riding and go to different areas. And he would tell me about buildings that used to be there and the way things used to be, as I like to call them, the ghosts of the past. And so, that was something that's really why I come at it from this angle. I love a good dark story, but I really love going in, finding this history, going to these towns that are nothing more than just a little street sign, and finding out about how they used to be, how they become established, and then some of the different stories that are associated with them. And, you don't have to go to the Waverly Hills. You don't have to go to these big places. While they're great and they've got these stories that are nationally and even internationally known, you don't have to go there. You can literally, close your eyes and touch anywhere on a map, and anywhere you look, that area that you touch is going to have some type of local story that's fascinating, that needs to be shared.
Yeah, sometimes those small locations are even better. Because you don't have that preconceived, everybody's got their story about the big ones. You get, I don't know. I like going in fresh and forming my own opinion.
Absolutely. And as a location owner, it's a struggle, because we have these things happen day in and day out. And we've had some people, one team in particular came in and they actually caught a shadow figure ripping a picture off the wall and throwing it 4.5 feet. And they caught the arm on camera. And, we're always on site. We say we're on site, but out of sight. And I was working that night and the team came and got me. And oh my gosh, we tried for 30 minutes that night to debunk it. And then the next day when Chris came in, she tried to debunk it. We never could debunk what they had. And when we went in and was analyzing the video, this is raw camera footage of a shadow arm. When the picture starts to fall, the shadow arm grabs it and flings it, and it literally flips in midair and goes 4.5 feet across the room.
Awesome.
Yeah, and what's even cooler about it is the fact that before it happened, they caught a disembodied voice of a woman that we commonly catch up there say help. And then their REM pod and their EDI plus box starts going off like crazy. They pick up their camera as it's going off, and you hear them say, I heard something say help. They go to the door, open the door from the kitchen, and they're panning it around the foyer. And they're on the second floor, which is the trustee floor. And you see a shadow off to one side, and it's pitch black. So you see a shadow come in, and then a light anomaly come down. And right after the light anomaly comes down, that's when the picture starts to come off the wall and the shadow arm throws it. So there was a series of events that they were able to connect it with, which is always so freaking cool when
That is,
you have a multiple things happen. And
Mhm.
so I love to show that video and share that story, but it's a love-hate relationship because people, when you share that, people are like, oh, I didn't have that big experience. But we tell people, it's like, obviously, if you're a seasoned investigator, activity is not guaranteed. But we'll share these things like the 7-foot shadow figure and the footsteps and all this stuff. But we tell people, always go back and listen to your recorders and your cameras, because this is a place where it may feel quiet. But we had one team doing an Estes method session, and they caught this woman screaming. I mean, like she was just being taken down. It was insane. They didn't hear it in the moment, but they caught it right there. And you're kind of like, how did you not hear that? So we always tell people, go back, listen to your evidence, look for the subtle things, because a lot of the subtle things are what ends up just actually turning into something pretty big.
I love it. You get home, you think you got nothing, and you find out you got a gold mine.
Yeah. I mean, now we do have some that do have some crazy experiences. We've had a couple people, and what's really cool is they end up coming back. And we've gotten, we've been open for a year and a half now, and since we've been open, we've had upwards of almost 100 teams, which I think is a pretty good record for a small new location on the scene. But a lot of those people, we like to call them repeat offenders. They, in fact, one that's coming tonight, after my show tonight, I've got to go work an investigation out there tonight. And he's one that's been there. This is his third time coming back. And so, we love our repeat offenders, and it's something that tends to happen quite a bit. People will come in, and the last couple were some people who worked at several really big locations, and they said that, this was one of their most active investigations, which we thought was quite the compliment coming from people who are in and day out of several really big locations.
Gonna give a shout out to hello Nancy and Derek. What's up, buddy?
He's at work. Yeah, he's part of our team. My husband, but yeah, he's part of our team.
Got to say hello to the husband.
Yeah, got to. Yeah. Especially when he's got short lunch break and he hops on to say hello. So.
Oh, that's fine. That's a good. And the co-host, you can't.
Yeah, and he freezes.
Oh, did I? Of course I did.
Yeah.
What? Is that my baby?
Oh.
So you already said that you got a few things coming up. Where can people who want to follow you, or God forbid they don't know where to see your show, where can they go to watch your show?
Yeah, so people can go back and they can catch up. They can actually binge watch all 5 seasons of Ghost Biker Explorations on the Ghost Biker Explorations Facebook page, Ghost Biker Explorations YouTube channel, and www.ghostbikerexplorations.com. You can definitely go on there, watch all 5 of the seasons. I've got some different lives. I've also I do a weekly live stream on Thursday nights at 9, which is the Ghost Biker Garage Live, and where I have different guests from the paranormal, podcasters, authors, artists, location owners, different folks who are doing things in the paranormal. I have them on my show. And, get ready for season 6. It's going to come out every Tuesday night in October at 9 p.m. Eastern time, and it will be followed up with a live stream on Thursday nights where we dig in deep and talk about each location and each episode. We really break it down on Thursday nights. So all of that's coming up. And then go check out Historic Scott County Jail at historicscottcojail.com. And on that page, you can find out about any of our events, everything from our flashlight tours, our guided ghost hunts, and book your private paranormal investigation. We also have motorcycle rides that we do from there. So, we call them bars to bars tours, where you where you get to come to the jail and do tours of other local county jails in the surrounding communities, couple it with our motorcycle riders. So we've got all kinds of cool events and stuff that we're doing there and all that. Plus, we do a podcast on Sunday nights. We're on hold right now, but you can go back and watch the previous episodes of that. It's called the Jailhouse Informant Podcast. Not quite sure exactly when that's going to start back, but we actually we've been interviewing other location owners that own jails around the country. Some of these are just chambers of commerce. Some of them are museums. Some of them are just strictly paranormal locations, but we're trying to create a network and get the word out. If you enjoy investigating jails and traveling, you can go and find some really cool ones on that podcast. And then, of course, we just opened Historic Rugby After Dark. And that can be found on our website, historyhighwayshaunts.com.
There we go.
Yes. And you can book your lantern tour as well as guided ghost hunt and private paranormal investigations. We've actually got 2 lantern tours we're going to be offering because the village is so large. We've got one that the lantern tour that takes you on the south end of the village to different locations, and then the other that takes you on the north end as well as to the cemetery. So we are definitely excited about that.
Oh, yeah. Nancy wants to know what she missed.
You missed a lot last week, Nancy. We made our announcement about rugby, and we'll be following up on that on my show that's going to be coming up at 9 p.m. tonight. We'll be kind of doing a recap. We did do a scholarship event this past weekend that was named in honor of my dad, who was a science teacher. And the money on that did go to fund a scholarship to a Scott County high school student who was majoring in the field of science. And so we did give that to a beautiful young lady who is majoring in nursing. And and then this weekend, the event ended up raising $950 toward next year's $1,000 scholarship. So we're very honored and excited about that as well.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That is awesome. Wow. I thought I was busy. I'm not even close. So
I'm busy and getting busier, apparently.
Wouldn't you rather be busy? I'd rather be busy and go than we only live once, right?
Oh, I always say I will sleep when I'm dead unless there's some annoying ghost hunter that wants to talk to me. So
and then we'll be up talking.
That's right. That's right. No, I totally agree. I would much rather be busy. And, I actually just moved back into the area. So I'm here in Scott County full time now and trying to remodel an old farmhouse. And like I said, just living the dream, I guess.
How is the remodeling coming?
It's coming really good. It was my grandparents' old farmhouse. It was built there in 1907, and it's been in the family, for at least 4 generations. Wow. And so yeah, it's been really cool. I had to go in and do quite a bit of remodeling because no one had lived in it for 15 years, and it's been a downsizing process moving from the house that I owned there in Cleveland to up here, but it was what I needed to do. And I tell you, I'm loving going out and sitting in the evenings when I get a few minutes to sitting in the evenings, watching the fireflies, waking up and, just instead of seeing what's going on around the world, seeing what's going on around me in my backyard has just been wonderful. And I'm looking forward to kind of picking up the pace with my life, but slowing down the pace in my home life.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad everything's going good, because I know you were just in the transition when we met.
I was, yeah. I was actually, that was in March. So I had actually just, I was in the process of getting ready to have things moved. And so even though they were moved, got the house put on the market, and it ended up selling in 3 weeks. And so closed on the house. Yeah, closed on the house actually on Monday. So that chapter of my life is officially closed out, which bittersweet, but because I had lived there in Cleveland for 11 years. And so that was good. And it's been a transition moving back, but the thing that's been interesting the most with the remodel is, I've had to kind of stay between my mom's house and stay in there with Christy, kind of going back and forth, working on the remodel, working on officially getting moved in. And so I've officially been in the house almost 3 weeks now, but it's a big unpacking process.
Moving's never fun.
No. And then couple in downsizing with that. That's And that's why I'm actually here. Because like I said, we've got an investigation at the jail tonight. And so I'm not able to do my show from there, but and I don't have my internet hooked up at the farmhouse just yet.
Tori's right. She says, you never realize how much stuff you have until you have to move it all. Yep.
Yes.
That's the truth.
But I'm really finding I've always been somebody that is not I'm trying to think of how to say it. Not being primitive, but keeping things simple. I mean, I definitely could not be a tiny house person by no means, because I'm an artist and I have to have my space to draw and to edit my videos and to work on my graphic design and stuff. My space has to be just right. And so I could never be really a minimalist, but I'm really learning as far as simplicity of just blocking everything else out. The noise is, because I don't even have my TV hooked up there. I've been in for 3 weeks, and and I'm to the point where I'm like, I don't even know if I want to put my TV up. I'll use my computer, use my phone as much as I need to, but yeah, just the simplicity. I'm finding that's just really helped me. I mean, because once you block out all that noise and all the loudness, that's when you can really start to hear and start to see.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, because when I'm drawing and in my space, I don't turn the TV on.
No.
I don't. People want it as background noise. No. If I do have any, it's my music, which I play all the time anyway. But yeah, the TV is like, no, it can stay off for the entire day. And
I think probably the only time I turn the TV on, and this is kind of, I guess, dating myself, but is when I was at my other house. The only time I'd turn my TV on was just before I would go to bed, and I would turn on Golden Girls.
There you go.
Golden Girls and Frasier, and then it's just and to go off to sleep and to watch the occasional true crime drama when I'm sitting there eating. I love true crime, and so the ID channel, I would watch that every time that I would eat. But other than that, I never turned my TV on, and I hate it because I feel like I never have time to watch my friends who do shows and stuff. I'll catch podcasts because I can listen to them while I'm doing stuff, but I'm never sitting down. I'm always on the go. And so and yes, as Janet said, Murder, She Wrote, that is the other one. And so, but yeah, that's my favorite thing is to, when I sit down to draw, I've got to have the lighting just right. I've got to have either essential oil or some type of candle, some type of smell, and some type of music going. Because if it's TV, I'm just distracted and I can't do it.
Yeah, because that distracts me.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I've got 2 of them, and yeah.
because he thinks, oh my God, Dad's not paying attention to me. Oh my Lord, and he's such a talker and a screamer.
Well, and that's the other thing. I don't know if you guys follow the historic Scott County Jail page. We've got a cat that she came in April of last year, and she's been there ever since. We named her Selly, the jail cat. And so that cat, her reputation precedes her. I mean, we have photos of her wearing all kinds of hats on that page,
Oh
and
my goodness.
she's people come in. That cat got 3 stockings this past year, and people don't even know who we are. Literally, when I was at the bank the other day and talking about, that I was moving back or had moved back, and that we had the jail open, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's the jail with the cat." So everybody knows Sally. They don't know us, though.
Oh, Tori just said she liked your Facebook page.
Thank you, Tori. We really appreciate that.
We've got about 4 minutes left, unfortunately. This has been amazing. I could sit here and just listen to you forever and a day. A fellow goes by, she has a real motorcycle. Oh,
I'm not going to say a word. I'm staying out of it and being good.
Well, there's only one thing I can say. I actually have one. So
Rex, I will ride with you regardless of what you're riding.
Thank you.
If you showed up on a Vespa, I would still ride with you.
Jay says, Rex, I'll go for the cat and you can deal with the ghosts.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not kidding when I say that this cat is a true celebrity. I mean,
I've seen it on your page a few times. Yeah.
Yes.
He's getting there, because I'll have people go, is the cat going to show up on the show tonight? Yeah. You'll hear him before you'll see him, because he said right now he's laying there because I have a bearded dragon. So he's going, I'm waiting for Barry to move. I'm waiting for him to move. Yeah. Special boy. But again, thank you so much for being on. It's been fantastic. Love to have you back again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And can't forget to tell people about our double header that we're doing tonight. And like I said, my show is going to come on here in about 30 minutes at 9 p.m. And my guest tonight is going to be none other than Mr. Rex Nielsen. So very excited to be doing this double header. And you all have had the chance to hear about me. But if you'll come over to my page, we're going to get to hear about Mr. Rex and about his story, how he got started. And I can guarantee we're probably going to talk some more motorcycles.
Probably. I guarantee it. So well, we got a minute and a half. It's been a blessing having you here. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to doing the doubleheader tonight. That is going to be fun. That'll be a lot of fun. There's so much going on, and I'll talk about it on your show, and I'll be plugging a lot of stuff away, especially for AOP and everything that's going on. And do you want to tell any more? Did you say something about your article you're writing there, Kandi?
Oh, for American Paranormal magazine, Derek and I are going to be featured in the July issue in that, so that'll be fun. I got to get that done tonight, get that information over to them. But yeah, we're just all full of things, aren't we, Rex? Go, go, go.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I mean,
that's
the last
awesome.
month
I will get you the information for the Paracon, so hopefully you can join us. It'd be awesome to see you in person.
Yes, that would be wonderful. Thank you, Kandi.
Awesome time.
Thank you.
And thank you for your hard work on the Paracon. I know those things are not easy to put on.
It's fun. I enjoy it, though. I really do.
And
Good
I,
deal.
yeah, I,
Larry agrees. He says, yes, come to the Paracon.
yes, if you can. I mean, it's going to be, it's amazing already, and we haven't even done anything. I mean, there's so much stuff that's lining up and falling in place, and the last month has just been absolutely just mind bending. I mean,
Sure.
everything that's happened, and of course, I'll go into more of that here in about a half an hour. So,
And please send me any links or anything that you guys want me to pull up there. I've already got some. I've got the link to your book and to your page and stuff. So if you've got the link to the Paracon and that sort of thing, please send that to me, and we'll make sure that we get all of that pulled up while we're talking to Rex on the show.
I will send it over to you.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. I am going to end the show like I always do. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do it here last time because the internet went out on me and I didn't even get to finish the show. As always, peace. And remember, everybody, a hug and a smile doesn't cost a thing and makes a world of difference, more than you think. And everybody, please be safe out there. And as always, we love you, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.